Cool.
Can you hear me okay, Dan?
Yeah, man, I can.
Perfect.
So, dude, we have like 1,900 people registered for this, which is super cool. And I'm really stoked about it. Looks like people are starting to file in now. So we're live, yeah?
Yep, we sure are.
Okay, great. Cool. How are you, Dr. Stine?
I am good, Professor Deadly. How are you?
Oh, if I were only a professor. I could work 2.5 hours a day and go home and drink beer the rest of the day. Isn't that the way it was at North Dakota State?
It was not that way for us. It might have been for the higher-ups, but it wasn't for us, no.
I heard that. Those measly music professors have to earn their keep.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, cool, dude. So
Well,
your
hey.
power, is your air conditioner not on there?
The air conditioning is not working. That is correct.
Dude, I'm
Yeah,
really
the
sorry
power.
for
There
you.
was a power. Yeah, there. Hey, Sam. Hey, Julian. There was a power surge in all of the part of town, and power went out, and then it came back on, and then they couldn't get.
So
the
why,
air.
if the power's on, why isn't the air on?
I don't know if something got tripped. It wasn't a. It wasn't just
Breaker?
something that. Yeah, it wasn't just a breaker. So I
Wow.
don't know.
Hey, Matt, Loretta, Sam, Julian, Tom, Frank, friend. Hello, friend.
Friend is always on these calls. Tom,
Hello,
Julian,
there's
hey
another
guys.
friend.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Hey, guys.
Daniel. Excuse me. I should be able to
Oh,
pronounce
Daddy.
Daniel. You would think I would get that name right, Daniel.
Hey, everybody. Hey, guys, while everybody's coming in, just make sure that you've downloaded that PDF, okay? Because you're going to
Somebody
need
just
that when we start.
Tom says, "Hey, man, this isn't live, is it?" Well, actually, yes, it is.
Hey, Garrett. Hey, guys. Hey,
That's
Scott.
hilarious. Yeah, guys, we are 100% live. Hence, when we say it's live, we're here. We're sitting with you.
Yes, we
And it's
are.
fun.
I'm gonna
Do you have the cat tonight, Julian says.
I don't. Actually, I made the cat stay out. That was pretty funny last time, though. That cat wouldn't leave me alone.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, Yan says, which PDF? How did they get the PDF?
Do you have, Matt, do you have that link that we could throw up on the sticky message for them to download the link? There's going to be a PDF that we're going to go through tonight.
Hey, Todd.
For this whole soloing thing, so we're going to make sure that you have that PDF. And I'm just not sure which link Matt wants to use. So,
Yeah.
is it live or is it Memorex? Boy,
What's Memorex?
that dates you, Alan.
Oh, Memorex, like the old
Yeah.
tape?
Yeah. Is it
Dang.
live or is it Memorex?
Are they even still a company?
Yeah, Sam says it came in the email earlier, and it did. But
there we
if
go.
Yep, if anybody's missing it, it's up there now. You can click on it.
It's at the top of the chat box, guys. Oh, I just realized my power cable isn't hooked in. Hang on.
All right. While he's gone, I'm going to do a magic trick for you. Ready? Here we go. Watch this. Impressive, right? Very nice. Yeah, my kids aren't impressed either. So anyway, I hope you're all doing good out there. Hey, Marilyn. It's so awesome that you guys are here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy lives to come and hang out with me and Dan and tell some really horrible jokes and learn about guitar.
Hey, I want to ask a question, guys. Let's see. Create poll. Let's see if I can do this. Load.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for all the awesome compliments. I'm very, very honored that you're all here tonight. This is awesome. You didn't like my magic trick? That's what my kids say, too. While you were gone, Dad, I was doing magic tricks.
Cool. I would like to see that.
No, you wouldn't.
Did you disappear and come back?
Well, actually, I could do that trick. That would be a good one.
So I'm asking everybody, which term do you guys like better, webinar or online class? I was wondering about this because I'm so old that I remember seminars. That was somewhere where you actually had to go and show up. And then there's webinars, but webinar doesn't really mean a lot to me. I'm like, what does webinar mean exactly? So I'm glad we're asking this question. So 65% of people say webinar is good. So that's a good thing to know. All right, let me ask this question. Do you have your guitar in hand? Yes? Nope. Please tell us. Do you have your guitar? So Steve will be able to know.
Oh, there you go. Good job. Nice preparation.
That is great. So some folks are probably checking us out on live, maybe on video or something, on their phone. So maybe you're like riding in the car or something, or maybe you're sitting at a park or something, or maybe you're somewhere else sitting in an airport. You just want to hang out with us, which is super cool. 82% said they do have their guitar. I'm really excited about that. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the preparation on that. And let's ask, anything you'd like to ask, Steve? I'm going to ask about skill level here, or experience level.
No, I'm just going to prep by saying, we'll get into all of this, but while Dan's getting his stuff ready, make sure that you really pay close attention to the things we're going to be talking about tonight, because there's some really great small elements that we're going to be giving you that are going to make, I guarantee you, they're going to make a really big difference in your soloing. You know, the one thing I always like to preface a lot of times is when I was younger, I used to think there was like a million things you had to learn to get better, and then I remember reading this Dimebag Darrell article, and I always talk about that, where he had mentioned that sometimes the smallest things can make the biggest difference. And that's what I'm hoping we can do for you guys tonight, is give you some things that you walk away going, wow, that was really easy to add into my playing, but man, my playing just sounds so much better. So just keep an ear open. So
that's true, guys. You're really looking for that one golden nugget, I call it. You know, that one game-changing thing, and it can be just one thing. Just try. Actually, let's try to make that a goal tonight. Just one thing tonight, guys. That you can take away and apply to your playing. You know, Steve's going to give you a lot of good stuff, and some of it will appeal to you, some of it may not, which is fine. But really zone in on that one thing that you're like, yes, if I just did that, it would change everything for me, and that will be your win for the night. And of course, it's the same way with this course, Guitar Solos Made Easy. I was actually recording the voiceover thing yesterday, and I was reading through everything that Steve has prepared for you on this course, and I was thinking, wow, this is a lot of stuff. But the cool part about it is, if you guys do decide to invest in Guitar Solos Made Easy, this amazing course that Steve's created for you, you don't have to go through all 7 modules and learn every single thing. You just go to like one module and learn one major thing, and it'll be worth the entire investment. Yeah?
That's exactly right. That's right.
Yeah. So 75% of you say that you're intermediate. I do want to ask, how many people have already purchased Guitar Solos Made Easy? Because, man, are you a... So, guys, I'd like to know how many people have already invested in this course, who's actually on the webinar. So it looks like about 10% of the people here have already invested in Guitar Solos Made Easy. Thank you very much for doing that, by the way. We really appreciate that. Thanks for taking your education and your training and your playing seriously. For the rest of you, it's perfectly fine. If you haven't invested in this course, that's perfectly fine. Tonight we're just going to cover some amazing tips and tricks that Steve's got prepared for you. We're going to tell you a little bit about the course, and if it sounds like something that you want to invest in, then you'll have that opportunity, and we have a special bonus for you, as well as you'll get the discounted price, and which is good through, I think, Of course, it's guaranteed through the end of the night with the timer. So we'll have a special page for you, and you'll be able to invest in the course if that's something that you'd like to do. If not, we will still appreciate you being here with us and contributing. I would like to ask these 13% of the people who are on this call, 12%, who have already invested in Guitar Solos Made Easy. If you could you please come into the chat box and tell us why you decided to invest in the course and what you're planning on getting out of it. Like, what's the one thing you want to learn? Like, maybe you just really want to master your scales, or maybe you really want to master how to move all the way across the fretboard, that vertical movement up and down, or the horizontal movement. Like, what's the one thing that you're wanting to get out of that course? And I would love to know that, and I'm sure Steve would as well. Okay, so Professor Stine, the world's most sought-after guitar instructor, is live with us now. By the way, I saw your YouTube channel had like 90,000 subscribers now. I looked like last month and it was like 65 or something. I almost had a heart attack.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's going up. It's going up by like 1,000 a day or something subscribers. So if you're not a Steve Stine YouTube subscriber, I would highly recommend that. It's a ton of videos, and whenever Steve makes new videos for you and they go up on that site, they go on the GuitarZoom site. So we actually have 3 YouTube channels, guys, that you definitely want to be taking advantage of. That is the GuitarZoom YouTube channel. It is Steve Stine's YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in Steve Stine. Click the old subscribe button. And also, what's the other one, Steve? The Guitar Songs.
Yep, well, it used to be called Guitar Songs Channel, and now I think it's called, I think now it's called GuitarZoom Songs.
Okay, GuitarZoom Songs. Okay, cool.
I think so, yeah. And basically what that is it's a website where I break down how to play songs. And there's rock songs on there, and then there's a lot of different songs on there, but one thing that there is a lot of beginner songs. If you know my teaching, one thing that I always try and do is I try and give a wide variety of things for players that have been playing for a while, but certainly also players that haven't been playing for a long time. So I take regular songs and I simplify them. So I'll do 2 versions. There'll be a regular version and then an easier version available on the website as well. So there's all kinds of stuff on there. There's pop stuff, and there's rock stuff, there's metal stuff, there's contemporary Christian stuff, because I play in a worship band in church, so I do some of that stuff on there too. So there's all kinds of different things on there.
Very cool. And of course, if you're not a fan of our Facebook page, you definitely want to you could actually just go to Google and type in GuitarZoom Facebook. The page will pop up for you, and then you want to become a fan of that page so that you can take advantage and get notices and videos, because we're actually putting a lot of videos on there now as well, and a lot of free things that you would definitely want to not miss out on. Okay, so it says somebody's asking about the YouTube channel links. Can we just put that somewhere on here, Matt, so that they can go over there and maybe subscribe to those channels? Or maybe we could just send out an email to everybody that's on this call. Do we have that ability? I think we probably do. How about that, guys? Just sit back and relax. We'll send you an email with all of this stuff that we're already talking about that just says, hey, Facebook's here. There you go. Matt said we'll send an email with a smiley face. Yes, much better idea.
Awesome.
That way it's a whole lot of stuff. We'll have links to each YouTube channel, links to the Facebook page, links to Guitar Solos Made Easy. Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, I never actually know what that word means.
Ado?
I just hear people say it. I don't know. This sounds good.
It sounds like ado. That's what it sounds like.
Ado. Je parle français. Ha ha ha. So, I'm not sure what I just said, but how about we get started, Steve Stine?
Yes, Mr. Denley.
Let's deliver on some of this amazingness that you've created for everybody here.
All right.
So, title of this webinar is How to Turbocharge. That's my Mississippi accent coming out. How to turbocharge your solos in 60 minutes. In 60 minutes, we're going to turbocharge your solos. Does everybody have the PDF? Are you ready to go? Please give me a yes over here in the chat box if you're ready to get going here, guys. Okay, cool. So, the PDF is at the top. Click on that bad boy and you will be able to follow along with us. Have your guitar in hand, and let's just jump into it. How to turbocharge your solos in 60 minutes. Wait, I forgot one thing, guys. If you stay with us through the end of the webinar, we have a special bonus for you that you can download for free. Even if you decide not to invest in Guitar Solos Made Easy, we have a special bonus for you just for being here. How cool is that? And we will give you that link to download that right at the end here. So please hang with us. Please turn off your distractions like your phone, your chat, your email. Like if you need to close the door and put like a do not disturb sign on it, just hang with us and focus here so you can get the most benefit out of it, because Steve really works hard in preparing these for you, and let's try to give him your undivided attention so that you can benefit the most. All right, so the number one thing that we're going to talk about tonight is how to turbocharge your solos in 60 minutes. There are 4 ways that we're going to cover tonight, and the first one is the secret to effective phrasing. And then the subtitle is Learn to Speak with Your Guitar. And by the way, I'm on page 2 of 4 of the PDF if you'd like to follow along with us. So Steve, what is the secret to effective phrasing?
Okay, well, in you probably, if you've been following the chat, you've seen a number of people mention this too, but I get a lot of people that talk about how their solos always sound like scales. Everything they do sounds like scales.
Yeah.
And the other, I mean, there's really 2 things that people do that they need to break out of, and one of them is just always playing up and down through scales. That can be beneficial to us from a technical aspect or a visual aspect, but from a musical aspect, it really isn't that beneficial. So we have to break that apart. And then the second thing is an overabundance of always thinking about licks. Now, don't get me wrong, licks are really important, and we need great licks. We need some really killer stuff to put in between our movements. But what we can do is start thinking about talking on the guitar or singing on the guitar. Thinking about, like when you and I are talking, Dan, how one of our jobs, if we're good at what we do, which we try to be, is to be interesting when we're talking. Everything isn't the same length, right? Everything isn't the same dynamic. Every sentence doesn't end the same. There's inflection. And so what we're going to do with phrasing is we're going to talk about how you could take a simple lick, but where you start it or how you play it can make all the difference in the world into changing it from a lick to an actual melodic phrase.
Okay. So this is the idea of taking a lick and changing into a melodic phrase, or taking a little scale pattern. By the way, Steve, I don't know if you noticed, but I just threw up this poll that says, do your solos sometimes sound like scales? And 94% of the people said yes! Exclamation point.
Yeah, it happens all the
94%.
time. Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. Okay, good. So this is going to speak directly to something that you guys are having a challenge with. Okay, take us through it, Steve.
Okay, so if you're all looking at that first example, all I did was I made a really simple lick. It just goes from 5 on the first string to 5 on the second string to 8 on the second string as a bend. So it's going. Okay, now if we separate our mind from thinking about licks, right now we're not worried about licks. If we just look at that idea, and please always remember that a solo doesn't mean anything if it doesn't have a chord progression or a rhythm underneath it to play over the top of. Like if I just sit here and play it for you, I'm going to have fun, and I hope you're going to have fun listening to me, but the real world kicks in when there's a rhythm track underneath me. There's a band playing, and now I'm playing over the top of this, or there's a jam track playing or a backing track, and I'm going to play. So if we think about this lick, if I was thinking about my rhythm going like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now with this lick, let's think about all the different things that we could do to change the phrasing of this lick. So if I went like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's one way I could approach this. The next way is let's think about putting some pauses in between the 2 5s or the 5 to the 8. So watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So I'm doing the same lick, but I'm putting a space in between the 2 5s. Now we can call these dotted half notes or dotted eighth notes or whatever, but let's not think about it like that. Let's just think about putting space in, just like when I'm talking to you. The next thing I'm going to do is the same thing, only I'm going to put the space between the 5 and the 8. So I'm going to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So I could have 3 different things happening like this. Okay?
Nice.
Right.
So all you're doing really at this point, from what I can see, is you're taking the exact same notes but changing the rhythm.
Right. That's exactly right. Now, I'm gonna bring this back into the real world for you, for anybody out there that might be going, well, that's just one lick. Please always remember, don't define the topic or the concept to a lick, because you could do this to any lick. You could do this to any movement that you do on the fretboard. Okay, what happens is we start playing and we get this mentality that we just start going like this. And then all of a sudden, there's nothing happening. But if we were to take that stuff and start breaking it apart, all of a sudden, it would sound more realistic, which is exactly what I just showed you how to do. I'm just pausing in between places. Okay?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so now I'm going to take that same idea there, okay? And this time what I'm going to do is, instead of starting on beat 1, this is a lot of people forget about. Just like when I speak to you, I'm not trying to start and make the length of the lick the same, or the length of the sentence that I'm saying. So instead of starting on beat 1, I'm going to start somewhere else. So I'm going to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now I'm starting on what we call the offbeat, right? Now I can apply those same ideas, but now I'm on a different beat in the song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oops, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You see? So now I could take all of those ideas and start thinking about, well, again, I'll give you a beat here. Now again, it's just one lick, right? But if I take that, if I take that idea and start just applying it a little bit on the fretboard, all of a sudden it becomes more and more like music and less like you're just playing up and down a scale.
I love it. Let me throw one thing at you that just jumped out at me as you were playing. So you were basically taking the same exact tempo, changing the rhythm within that specific tempo. So let's say it was 60 beats a minute or whatever it was. Can you show them what it would sound like if you either sped up that tempo or slowed that tempo down but played the exact same notes? So you see what I'm saying?
So
right now you're just going like, yeah. So I mean the phrasing of it will change depending on the actual tempo. So if you slowed the tempo down. Sure,
absolutely. So let's say we did a slower tempo, right? So we went 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
Exactly. So it has more like of a blues thing.
Absolutely.
So then if we sped up that tempo.
Yep.
Will sound like what?
Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost like a Ted Nugent thing happening there.
Exactly. So just the tempo, we moved from blues to rock. You see how closely they're related, guys? Just to one, you're like, oh, yeah, that sounds bluesy. The other one, you're like, oh, yeah, that's like Guns N' Roses or whatever.
Yep. The coolest thing, guys, if you always remember that, like, and this is really what guitar soloing guitar solos made easy is about, and it's kind of what I always try and teach, kind of a philosophy, but the goal isn't that you exist right here. This is you, and what you want to learn is out here. Okay? Because there's a big gap between where you are and what you want, and I get it, because I'm the same way. It's not like I can play everything on the planet. I can't. There's a lot of things that I practice on a daily basis, but the goal is to take where you are right now and expand to here. And then expand to here, and then expand to here, and then you just keep growing as you keep getting better as a musician. But the problem with this and this is that if we're always trying to make a connection too far away, we just get frustrated. And then we're like, well, I suck, and I can't play, and I don't know how to do this stuff, and I wish I could play like David Gilmour or whatever. The thing is, and you have to understand that David Gilmour plays like David Gilmour. David Gilmour does not play like Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen does not play like B.B. King. We're all different. And so the goal is to understand who you are as a player and how you can take what you're already doing and make it better. As opposed to, I don't want to be this guy, I want to be, I want to be Superman. Well, we can't do that. What we have to do is start with something that's real and tangible. So if you think about what we're doing right now with this little lick, it's not about the lick, it's about the cutting, the spacing of what you're playing. So whether you're playing a scale or whether you're playing a lick, like if any of you have learned from me, which many of you probably have, I talk a lot about meandering, right? So meandering, basically what you're doing is trying to move up and down scales to get comfortable with them. It's not necessarily a musical thing that you want to do on stage, but it's really great for learning your fretboard. Well, if you take your meandering and you start cutting it up like we're doing right now, you're going to notice that all of a sudden it's going to sound more like music. It's going to sound more like an authentic solo.
So we have basically, we're still on this first chord up here, the secret of effective phrasing, and we're on the first measure of the tab that you've given us here. Now, what about that second measure, Steve?
Okay. Well, this is just showing you how what we could do then is, if this is a lick or an idea that we have, how we can simply embellish it by adding on to it, making our sentence longer, right? So the first thing we did was we just put spaces in these 3 spots between these 3 notes. Well, now what we can do is we can take that same idea and turn it into... So I'm just expanding the concept. Okay, but as I'm doing this, remember now, I can put pauses in. I can play at various tempos, as Dan had just mentioned. So if I did this, if I went 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But let's put some space in between there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Very cool. Sweet, dude.
Okay.
So what's occurring to me here is when you say learn to speak with your guitar, it's like the first thing, it's like to draw this analogy between actual speech. Now, if I said, "Hi, Steve," that's a sentence. I mean, it's a sentence.
It's
but then when you're talking about
and we need those. Okay, and to embellish on what Dan's saying, we always think that our sentences need to be 50 words long because we're guitar players. So as soon as we put our fingers on the fretboard and we're nervous, we go play, 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 play. That's what we do. And we forget that which we're going to get to in the next one, but we forget that space in between is what breaks those up. So when Dan says, "Hey, Steve," and I go, "Hey, Dan, how you doing, buddy?" There's an interaction there. We're not going, "Hey, Steve. Hey, Dan. How are you?" "I am fine. Good."
Right.
It would sound weird, right?
Yep. This is a really cool concept, man. Applying, because it really, if you think about it, blues very much is a vocal style of music.
Huge.
Right?
Huge.
And so, guys, if you can, I know this is kind of like, kind of heady and kind of conceptual here, that what we're talking about, this making your guitar speak, but if you will, all we're asking you to do is just to consider it and then just try to start thinking about your musical phrasing as an actual speech or as you're actually having a conversation with someone, right? Like a call and response, or just I say something, then I pause, and then Steve says something, right?
That's right.
So that's the whole idea here. Instead of just like machine gun, rapid fire, let me just see how many notes I can play. If you will start considering whether I'm speaking really loud like this, or whether I'm like really soft like this, or whether I'm speaking in short phrases like this, or whether I'm just totally legato in all my words and making everything kind of flow together, right? We talk like this, so we know it. So if you can take what you already hear in your ears with your speech and then apply it to your guitar, it's just going to give you that edge that, very, very few players ever actually stop to think about this kind of thing.
Right. And so what we're going to do is, once we get done with number 2, I'm going to do a little bit of jamming. I'm not going to go way outside the lines, but I'm going to do a little bit of jamming and just show you using these elements in the real world. I'm going to use it over a blues jam. So
very cool. So I want to actually ask everybody a simple question on this poll here about this first concept. I'm just going to say, is this cool? Or if they like it. We want to know. All right, so this whole first concept that we just covered here, the secret of effective phrasing, is learning to speak with your guitar, taking these simple phrases, breaking them down into sentence fragments, and then kind of piecing them together to expand it, adding your bends and all of that. So 99%, Steve, that's a 99% approval rating, 98% approval rating.
I know. I always have 1 or 2%.
2 people are like, no, this is stupid.
Show me the arpeggios. Show me the sweeps.
Bird. All right. Thanks, guys, for that. So 98% approval rating there. Let's move on to the second concept. So we covered the secret to effective phrasing, which is learning to speak with your guitar. And then the second one we're going to cover here, guys, is the diversity of dynamics, which I kind of alluded to just a second ago by speaking loudly or speaking kind of softly. So
huge.
What are we talking about here, Steve?
This is one of the most important things that you could possibly learn. Once you have learned how to start cutting things up, so you've got shorter pieces of, shorter groups of notes and longer groups of notes, and these notes are starting and stopping in different places. Okay? The next thing is to start adding dynamics, okay? You've got to learn how to do this. And this is, again, always think the power of opposites is what you're doing. So you might hold a note, okay? So I'm going to be over here in the key of A minor pentatonic. So I play a little lick. And what I find a lot of times when players are thinking really hard, they never stop playing. Like, they'll always be playing something. Even if they're not actually, like, moving, they'll be going. And if you never stop playing, your sentence isn't done yet. You haven't put a period in. You haven't put a comma in.
It's like someone who never stops talking.
That's usually me, according to my family.
Annoying.
So what you've got to learn to do, so what you've got to learn to do is you've got to learn to be aware of really physically stopping. Because that's where the impact comes in. When you do this, you're done. We'll get to some of that in just a little bit as well, but I'm holding a note or I'm stopping. I'm physically stopping the vibration of my strings, which is going to have an even bigger impact. Okay, soft and loud. This is another one, which one of the bonuses that you wind up getting in here talks about guitar tone. If you buy the course, I think it's tonight. It's a webinar. Bonus.
Yes,
okay.
That's a good point.
So,
let me speak to that. This is an actual course, guys, that if you decide to invest in Guitar Solos Made Easy, you're going to get Steve's course called How to Create the Ultimate Guitar Tone using the gear and guitar you already own. Okay, so you don't have to go out and buy stuff.
No.
It's how to get the ultimate guitar tone using the gear and guitar you already own. That's a special webinar-only bonus that you're going to get if you decide to invest in this course. And of course, guys, before you even ask, if you've already invested in this course, you're going to get this bonus. It'll already be in your members area. We're going to set you up with that, okay?
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you there.
Oh, no, that's fine.
That course is included.
Yeah, so there's two different kinds of soft and loud. The obvious one is your volume, right? Where a lot of times, and again, I go into great deal on the in the bonus on this, but remembering that your toggle switch and your volume control can be two of your best friends when you're playing, because they make such a sizable difference in your guitar tone by adjusting them. Now, I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail on that because we don't have the time for that, but I do want to show you, if I back off, if I change my toggle switch, I got a 5 position, so I'm going to the 3rd position, and then I'm just going to lower my volume a little bit. And then what I want, I can get really aggressive with my tone, and there's two things happening there. It's the way it's the volume, but it's also the way I'm picking. And that's the second thing about this is the way that you're picking. I could turn my volume up and pick softly. And if you want to start sounding like a human or singing when you play, This is where it's at. You know, you've got this phrasing idea where you're breaking things apart, and now all of a sudden you're becoming aware of the inflection that you're creating, this engagement that you have with the way that you're playing. Okay, one that's not on here that I should have put on here is same and different, right? We always think, this is the other thing that happens a lot, is when people play, they always think they need to be playing different notes. Now we can do that, and we want to do that, but there are times that we want... And I'm just playing pentatonic here. I'm not playing anything crazy, and I'm not playing speed licks. And for those of you that may have never seen me before, I can play speed licks too. But my point is that music isn't just about, like, we always think that it's about this end result of being able to play fast, and those are elements, okay? But these elements that we're talking about are just as important, if not important, than those elements, because they make us sound like human beings. They make us sound like real guitar players. That's what we're looking for.
Musicians.
That's right. That's right. Now the next one, the third one, is low and high, okay? Now low and high, for instance, when you first start a solo, and I get this question a lot too, when you first start a solo, unless you're looking at ripping somebody's face off, it's nice to start low, and then you can just go up the octave and make it more impactful. So if I'm down here and I'm going... and then I go up... now all of a sudden it's like I'm screaming at somebody. Before I was talking to them, and now I'm just hollering at them as I'm up here. You see? So low and high is just really, really important. And it might be the same melody. You might go... you know, something really simple, like in the number one that we did, where you did a lick, but then you move it up, and it has a very different impact.
Completely different. So low and high meaning pitch.
Meaning pitch, yeah. Yep. Or position, however you want to look at it. But short and long. Obviously, that's something that we kind of covered in the first one, but it's really important to think about that. Like if you ever get into a jam with somebody, you really only have two options when you're jamming with them. Either you're trying to mimic what they're doing, or you're trying to oppose what they're doing, right? So if I'm playing with Dan and we're jamming back and forth, and there's a rhythm player and he and I are both soloing and we're taking licks, right? Sometimes called cutting heads. So if we're doing this and he plays a lick, my job is either I'm going to play that same lick, I'm going to play that same lick an octave higher, or I might do something completely different and play something completely the opposite of what he did to try and pull him into something else. You see? So short and long can be really, really fun that way, of being able to think about making your licks, again, making short ideas, and then make a long idea. But then when you're done, follow it up with something short again. And remember, stop. Because if you don't stop, it's going to be the longest sentence in the world, because even in your head, you're here waiting, and you're thinking, where am I going to go? Where do I got to go? You haven't stopped talking yet. You're still talking because the pitch is still going. You see?
I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool,
and then,
dude.
And then, of course, the last one is pretty self-explanatory, slow and fast. So here's what I want to do, if you don't mind, Dan. I'm going to play a little bit of a blues jam here, and I'm just going to kind of do, just for 30 seconds here, just kind of show you how to put all these together. Okay?
Please do.
All right. Hopefully you can hear that okay?
Yep.
Stop. I'm going to go up. But I'm quiet. Hang out. Now stop. Okay, I'm going low and high, right? Short and long. Here's a long one. And fast, right? So I'm constantly aware of...
Super cool, dude.
Yeah, so I'm constantly aware of these dynamics all the time. Whether I'm playing in church, I'm playing in a metal band, I'm playing in a rock band, I'm always aware of these things. So if I was playing, again, I always use the same songs, but if I was playing this, like, just a straightforward rock and roll tune, right? I'm going to be using these things all over the place. It's not just how many licks do I know, but how can I diversify those licks with these dynamics? So,
dude, that's amazing. I love this. The diversity of dynamics. We talked about holding and stopping. We talked about loud versus soft, low versus high, short versus long, and then slow and fast. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 concepts are a total game changer for soloing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is, I think, at least from my perspective, when I was younger learning how to play guitar, I kept thinking that there was some magical pill over here that was going to make me a better guitar player. So I was always reaching way further out than I really needed to. And once I started learning to, and again, that comes back to this idea here, once I started learning to build the bridge from here to here, not trying to jump from here to here, but start with these little ideas where B.B. King could never play fast in his life. He had no technical skills to be able to do that. But when he played, you felt what he played. Now, I'm not saying you have to like B.B. King or not. That's the beauty of being a human being, is you can decide what you like and what you don't like. But he played with authenticity.
Absolutely.
So, when you look at, for me, like, I can look at a guy like Yngwie Malmsteen, if you guys know who Yngwie Malmsteen is, and he's a shredder dude, right? He's a neoclassical guy. But I absolutely love the way he plays. I just don't need it 24 hours a day. Right. I can shift gears from, Keith Urban to Joe Pass to Yngwie Malmsteen to, George Harrison. That's the beauty of my life, is that I can enjoy all of these different people. So everybody on this call, you have to understand that you're somewhere in the middle of that, right? Mm-hmm. Yngwie Malmsteen probably wanted to be George Harrison, and B.B. King probably wanted to be whoever, but they realized who they were, they figured out who their core was, and they were able to build upon that. So if that sort of makes sense.
It does. I do think this in general, and just as human beings, we love to, for some odd reason, we love to compare ourselves to everybody else, which is always a recipe for disaster.
Always.
Just don't do that. Just use the God-given talent that you have and just maximize that, and don't worry about trying to be something that you're not, because it's just
that's right. The
dead end road.
Is if you can figure out what Dan just said is the absolute goal, right? If you can figure out who you are and what you can do, and then you can embellish upon that, at least when you go to play, you know who you are. You know what your center is. So when you get up on stage, you're not trying to do things that are going to leave you going, I mean, believe me, I've done everything that I'm talking about times 1,000. I've been on stage and walked off and went, wow, did I suck? Just trying. and sometimes it's like the planets align and you're right in a different zone and you're doing your thing. But if you have more understanding of who you are and what you can do, and I think to a certain degree what you can't do, it makes your playing more confident, and it makes you feel better because you're on an even keel. I mean, if we could all run at 70%, it would be greater than running at 80 one night and 40 the next night, or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. But we got to learn who we are, and that's the thing is, and I know I mentioned this to you earlier, and I'm not going to talk your head off, but you've got to learn to stop thinking all the time when you play. You've got to start feeling things. When you go, you're not really thinking about all of that. You're just trying to speak as you're playing. And I'm not doing a lick, I'm not doing a pattern, I'm not doing anything other than that. If I wanted to do a pattern, I'm going to do that. Like if I wanted to play something really fast, I would do that, but then I would counter it with this.
Mm-hmm. That's what makes it interesting.
So that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I think a guy, regardless of what you think about him, I think John Mayer is a guy that you could look at and when he's playing his blues stuff and say, if he's great at the feeling part. I watched him play live one time, and he's a phenomenal musician.
exactly. Like, if you guys know who Derek Trucks is too, Derek Trucks is the same way. You watch that guy play or listen to him play. Joe Bonamassa is another one that I really love. I mean, there's so many of them. But we're on this call, and the reason you're all on this call is because we're talking about soloing. So to some capacity, you're interested in soloing. So you have to remember to think about that, to think about speaking on your instrument and not just impressing.
Yep.
And again, I'll just real quick, because it's a 30-second story. I remember teaching a guitar lesson once to this kid, and he was like 9 years old or whatever. And I said, so we were talking about soloing. I said, so what's the point of the solo? He goes, to show off. And that's always stuck with me, because we get that in our mind that when we solo, the job is we're supposed to rip everybody's heads off and be better than everybody else on the planet, and it's not. We're singing. If you've ever heard me sing, you'll know why I play guitar. So
no, we're all that 9-year-old kid.
Yeah, right.
Every single one of us. It's
right.
That's what you have to get. You have to become a grown up and say, no, I don't really need to show off all the time. Just here to make music.
That's
all
right.
right. So very cool, dude. So. Look, guys, we've already covered. If you're just not joining us, we've already covered the first way. Well, the title of our webinar, back to it, is how to turbocharge your solos in 60 minutes. So we're about 30 minutes in. We talked about the secret to effective phrasing, which is learning to speak with your guitar. We've talked about the diversity of dynamics, holding and stopping, soft and loud, low and high, short and long, slow and fast. So really just thinking about talking, like how you speak, short sentences, long sentences. Sometimes you speak loud, sometimes you speak soft, high, low, right? All of those things is very much a vocal element, which makes your makes your solo sound musical and melodic and
you hear guitar players a lot of times, like famous guitar players will talk about listening to saxophone players. And the reason they're listening to saxophone players is because saxophone players, that's their element. They don't have as many tools. They don't have as many strings. They don't have as many customizable things as we do. So I would actually encourage you someday to even listen to like a motivational speaker. Listen to someone who does a great job giving a sermon, or it could be anything like that, and you just go, wow, this is great. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You learn how to feel it inside. So
very cool.
Yep.
So let's move on to the third one. Oh, and by the way, I want to mention, if you guys dug what we just covered on the dynamics thing, Steve has created an entire course called The Ultimate Guide, or what's it called? The Ultimate Guitar Tone. How to create the ultimate guitar tone. You're going to get that course for free if you decide to invest in Guitar Soloists Made Easy. It's one of the special bonuses for the webinar attendees only that you're going to get. And of course, if you already ordered the course, you're going to get it as well. Don't worry about that. But it's an entire course based on it, and we will be releasing that course later on in the year as a standalone course to the public. But you get it for free, and so it's a special bonus. So I think that's pretty cool. So if you dug that, you'll love that bonus. All right, so let's go on to number 3: master the melody. Okay, the chord chasing trick.
Yeah. This is huge if you've never done this before. One of the biggest things that we do wrong as guitar players is when we go to solo, we don't know enough about our fretboard, right? We don't know our notes, and we don't know our theory of how chords and notes are connecting together. So we really have no ability to, I shouldn't say no ability, but we have limited ability on being able to create melody. So sometimes we get lucky. We'll be playing and we'll go to a note, it'll match what's being played, and we go, yay! And then other times we'll go to another note and it doesn't work. This is a great little trick that you can do simply by visualization that doesn't require you to know all your theory and all those sorts of things. And not that those things aren't bad, they're wonderful. But if you're not at that place in your playing, this is a great way that you can approach this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 3 chords here. I'm going to show you A minor, which is an A minor bar chord. Let me try and get a little bit cleaner tone here. Let me try this one. See if you can hear this, Dan.
Yep.
Okay. So here's A minor, here's G major bar chord, and here's F major bar chord. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these 3 bar chords. I'm going to look at the A minor chord, and I'm going to visualize 5, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5. So now as my hand isn't on there, I can still see 5, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5, obviously. Then I move down to G. And now I'm visualizing 3, 5, 5, 4, 3, 3. I can see that. Okay? And then the same thing on F. If I go down to F, it's the exact same thing as G, just 2 frets lower. So now I'm visualizing those 3 shapes. You with me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I was to take my A minor pentatonic scale and superimpose it over the top of this A minor chord. Here's the A minor chord, here's the A minor scale. Now, the notes that are part of the chord in my head are brighter. They're shining. I can see them. So as I'm moving through this scale, I'm going to start trying to target or emphasize some of those notes. Okay? So as I'm moving through here, instead of that all being equal, instead of this entire scale being equal, it's not equal. I have notes that are brighter than the other notes. And all of a sudden, those notes that I'm trying to target, now instead of having all the notes, which is kind of like having no notes, I have notes that I can actually try and go to and target. Now, that doesn't mean that the other notes aren't available and I can do whatever I was doing before. I can do everything. But it gives me a place to go. I always use the analogy of like driving. You can get in your car and you can drive around town with nowhere to go, and that's fine. But your spouse is going to be a lot happier if you go to the grocery store and go shopping, right? And you get bread and milk or whatever. You've got a direction, you've got a purpose for being in the vehicle driving from point A to point B. It's okay to drive around and look at the scenery, but at some point you got to go home. At some point you got to go somewhere, right? So as we're moving around, as we're driving around, it's giving us a place to go. Now, if we had a chord progression, if I was doing this, now what I could do is I could start trying to target notes within each one of those chord shapes. So right there what I'm doing is I'm taking the A minor chord and I'm taking this note of the 3rd string and playing it, and then G, I'm using that note, and then F, I'm using this note. Now, nice. I can start off very basic by just building a melody that's, we can consider it boring, but it's just going to be basic, right? So I'm going. But as your rhythm player is going, now what I'm doing is I'm taking all the stuff we just talked about in number 1 and number 2, and I'm also using elements of the pentatonic scale. So I'm wrapping the pentatonic scale around the notes of these chords.
Nice. So just to say what he just said another way, or maybe the exact same way, just for my own benefit here, you are basically you're targeting the pentatonic minor. Well, you're not targeting it, but you're visualizing, okay, I could use the notes as pentatonic minor.
Correct, and I will. Yep.
Okay, and then as each chord changes, you're going to emphasize the notes that the rhythm section is playing. So if they're playing an A minor chord, you're going to target the notes in the A minor bar chord there.
Yes, and I don't have to target all of them. Right?
Okay.
You don't have to. Again, the human nature is, well, I don't want anybody to feel bad, and I love puppies, so I'm gonna emphasize everything. Right? You don't have to emphasize everything. You don't have to feel like because there's 6 strings and there's 6 notes, you don't have to emphasize everything, and you don't have to emphasize the same notes every time. If you're creating a melody, one of the definitions of a melody is that it has some element of repetition, because the listener hears it. And, you know, we will, right? It's something that repeats and people can grab onto it, okay? It doesn't have to have that, but what it does now is it's giving your driving a direction. So when the G chord comes up, instead of, and let me give you an example. Here's what happens a lot of times when you play over A minor. People do this. And then G comes up and they do this. And F comes up and they go. they're oblivious, and not that that can't be used as a tactic, but they're oblivious to the chords, and I always call it tipping your hat, but they're not tipping their hat to the chords. They're not going, okay, band, I'm going to try and elevate what you're doing to a new level. I'm just going to be over here winging out on a bunch of notes, and then you guys be over there doing your thing. I'm going to try and make a connection to you and start creating something with the chords that you're playing. I don't have to do it all the time, right? I can go off on a tangent and other places. I don't know if we got time, Dan. Do you want me to show an example of this, or should we?
No, go for it, dude. I love
think
examples because it makes everything clear.
Okay.
And I should mention, guys, this chord chasing technique, I actually just looked it up. This chord chasing thing, Steve goes into depth into chord chasing in module number 2 of Guitar Solos Made Easy. So right now we're just covering, you know, a 10-minute snippet of this, but he's going to go into depth into chord chasing for module 2. So if this is something that you're interested in, this could be the one game-changing element for you that if you decided to invest in this course would completely change everything for you in terms of your solo.
Huge.
Okay?
Huge. And I see people mentioning, like, all along the Watchtower and Stairway to Heaven and all those things.
Yeah.
You could look at any classic song or any what we consider the great guitar players, and if you start stripping away, again, speed picking and arpeggios and tapping, and you start pulling all of that stuff away, because again, that's where our mentality always goes, you're going to find that these players have everything that we're talking about right now. It's the other things that might get us attracted to it because we go, wow, that was really neat and it was different, but they all have this ability. Eddie Van Halen's got this ability when he solos, right? Stevie Ray Vaughan had this ability when he solos. I mean, it could be anybody, and they're all going to be able to do this, whether or not they can do it from a theoretical standpoint where they're going, well, the dominant 7 of the whatever, they may or they may not. But what they do have is the same ability that you do to be able to put 2 and 2 together. Now, let me show you kind of what I mean. Let me see if I've got a track here. I think I'm missing this one, but
Tracks are good.
okay, so here, this is A and F and C and G. So let me just explain this to you. I'm not going to go into big detail and bore you, but it's A minor, F, C, and G. So what I'm going to do
A
is
minor, F, C, and G, okay?
That's correct.
Now, does it matter? It didn't sound like those were bar chords.
No, no, they were probably open chords.
Okay.
So here's the point I was going to make was it doesn't matter where you see chords, you can do this anywhere. But if you've got an A minor down here and you've got an F way up here, it might be a little bit harder because they're not in the relative same space. So it's nice to put everything in a space, right? Okay. So if I was to put A minor here and F here and C here and G here, which you all probably know.
Yes.
Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start attaching real basic. I'm going to start attaching these things together. So I'm going to choose a note out of this, and a note out of this, and then a note out of this, and then a note out of this. Okay? So here we go. So here's your A. Here comes C. And here comes G. Now I want to do the same thing in a different spot. Here comes my F. Here comes my C.
That's so cool.
Here comes my G. So, right there, what I'm doing is I'm seeing...
That's so cool, dude.
Yeah, so I'm seeing A minor, right? And then F comes up. So now, again, I don't expect everybody to know this, but I've got an F caged chord sitting right here. Now that's what I'm seeing is this F. So this F, it's the same chord. And then a C chord and a G chord. So because they're all sitting in the same spot, I can just kind of dabble in between each one and create these melodies. And then at some point, I can disregard this entirely and go back to my old school way of playing, which was just kind of meandering and, you know, breaking things up, phrasing, blah blah blah. I can go back to all that. I don't have to be obligated to do this for 3 minutes, but it's something that if I do it and then I come back to it 30 seconds later, people are going to go, "Oh wow, man, that's his song. I hear him singing, right?"
Dude, just play that for us one more time.
Okay, so here we go.
I want to hear it again. It just sounded too cool.
So there's our A minor. Now imagine in your head, F, C. Now I'll play through it a couple of times. Okay, now here we go. Here's our A. Here goes my F. I'm going to walk up to it. Now come down to the C and to the G. There's A. Now I gotta get to an F. Now I gotta get to something of C. Now I gotta get to something of G. Okay? I'm telling you, this is
so cool.
This is life-changing. I mean, when I learned how to do this, it changed everything about my playing, because all of a sudden, instead of just doing this stuff, again, I'm not making fun of it, guys. I do the same things you do. But instead of just going, instead of just driving around aimlessly, we now have a place to go. We don't have to go there, but we have places that we can go. So
I love it. So I actually put up this this question here, Steve. If you could master chord chasing, would it be a game changer for you? And it looks like about 97-98% of the people are saying yes. So guys, I want to emphasize that Steve goes into this concept very, very deeply in Module 2 of Guitar Solos Made Easy, which is the course that Steve just wrapped up for you. So if you're into this, then that one module may justify the entire investment for that course. Okay,
right.
And Steve, that's awesome, man, and that was really beautiful, actually. It reminded me how much I love music and why I'm so glad that I get to do what I do every day.
Right. Well, just so you remember too, another thing, I don't remember where it is in the course, but in the course I also talk about how to approach different styles of music. Right? So if you're playing over something that is more blues, rock and roll, how you would approach soloing over something like that. Or if you were playing over something that was metal, how you'd approach playing over something like that. So you're playing within the I shouldn't say the rules, but the general guidelines that we have of what is going to be effective. Now you can always go, I don't have any rules and I make my own rules, and that's fine. But again, that's driving with your headlights off in the dark. You know, it's nice to at least have a road on and then decide what you want to do. If you want to avoid the trees, it's always nice to be able to do.
I always use the analogy that it's like a train that wants to get off of the tracks. Once it's off the tracks, it doesn't go anywhere. It has to stay within the tracks to actually be efficient.
Yeah, there was a time, it was funny, like in the 90s when all the grunge bands came out, and all the really great guitar players had to go into hiding. And when they did come out, they'd always have to say these things like, well, I don't understand what I'm doing on the guitar, and to try and kind of fit in. And the truth is, even if you couldn't describe one thing about your playing, but what you did worked, it fits. Whether it's a language, like theory, when we talk about theory is just a language that Dan and I can speak to each other to understand what we're saying. But that doesn't mean every time I get together with other musicians, we talk about theory. We just do what we need to do to make it work. Again, if I'm playing in my worship team, I'm going to approach it very differently than when I play with my metal band. The way I play is going to change. But it doesn't mean I like one more than the other. I like the opportunity of being able to do different things. I love blues as much as I love pop, as much as I love rock, and all sorts of different things. So
that's a beautiful thing. And I want to encourage everybody on this call to really try to step outside of your comfort zone of what you consider the music that you like. So let's say you're a hardcore blues player and you're like, you know what? I like blues and that's what I listen to, and I'm a blues player, right? I think some of the biggest breakthroughs for me personally, and I'm sure Steve will concur with this, is when you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to go listen to some jazz trumpet players for a while. Or I think I'm going to go listen to like a Mozart symphony. I think I'm going to, let's say you hate metal, but you're just going to go find some neoclassical dude and go down the Yngwie Malmsteen path or whatever. And just kind of forcing yourself to sit there and carefully listen to what that player is doing. sometimes you'll get ideas. You're like, oh, dude, I bet I could do that. I might not be Yngwie Malmsteen, but I could incorporate that thing into my playing. So try to get out of your little box. I call it getting out of your little rice bowl and listen to other styles and other players that you don't even really like, maybe, just to kind of expand your thinking and what you consider that's cool on guitar. What do you think about that, Stine?
I completely agree. I mean, again, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, you know, it was the Guitar Hero era and the shred era for me. And so one thing that we forget as guitar players, and this course does not go into that, I'll create a course on it sometime in the future, but is songwriting. You know, learning to listen to songs for the sake of the song and not just thinking, okay, my solo needs to be 3.5 minutes of a 4-minute song. We forget that a lot of times with bands or musicians, we have a part to play in the band, and it isn't just, look at me solo for 20 minutes. And sometimes it is that, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes we're trying to fit into the construct of a song or a style of music or something like that. So what Dan's saying is absolutely true, and I would even go a step further and say sometimes don't always think of playing as being soloing. You know, think of it as rhythm, think of it as groove, think of it as, I mean, it could be a million different things, but I think a lot of the really good players, and this is something else I'm going to encourage everybody on this call to do, is make sure that you're learning a lot of songs. You know, make sure you're exploring tunes. You know, go to that GuitarZoom songs thing if you need to and look for stuff, but always be, you know, I remember learning and learning all this, like, all these kind of licks like that, that other bands were doing, you know. You know, palm muting and all these little things that were going on that were very similar. The music might have been, you know, the genre might have been different, but the techniques and things like that were very similar. And I think just having a lot of exploration of different songs and that will help you a lot too. So
I absolutely think you should learn a ton of songs. Okay, guys, let's jump off. Let's jump into the next and final point of Steve's presentation tonight, which is the repetition connection. So again, if you've joined us late, it's okay. Thanks for coming. We appreciate you. And for those of you who have been with us from the beginning, we've been on here for a solid hour at this point. We're talking about turbocharging your solos in 60 minutes, and we've already covered some amazing stuff. So we've covered how to you know, effective phrasing. That's learning to speak with your guitar. We talked about dynamics and this kind of diversity between loud and soft, and playing low notes and high notes on the fretboard, short phrases versus long phrases, slow versus fast, and kind of incorporating all of that similarly to the way we speak. And then mastering melody, which is the chord chasing trick, which, by the way, all of the stuff that we're covering tonight, guys, is covered in depth in Guitar Solos Made Easy. Okay, the chord chasing trick is actually going to be Module 2. Module 2 of Guitar Solos Made Easy, and I think there's 7 total modules. Is that right, Steve?
there are 7, yes.
7 in Guitar Solos Made Easy. And of course, if you decide that you're to invest in Guitar Solos Made Easy during this webinar, guys, you get the special bonus, which is how to create the ultimate guitar tone from the gear and guitar you already own. So he's going to go really in depth into that, and that's a special bonus that you're going to get as if you decide to invest in the Guitar Solos Made Easy tonight. Okay, so, and also if you stay with us to the end, you're going to get a free bonus just for being with us to the very end of this webinar. Okay, number 4, the repetition connection. Create a theme by repeating an idea. Take it away, sir.
Okay, so if you just heard the last little segment, you kind of heard that repetition. When you do something more than once, it causes the ear to take notice, right? Mm-hmm. Again, if you think about it, if it's like getting in your car and driving, but you never drive to the same place, so you're always driving somewhere new. That's fine, but there's no familiarity to it. So the goal is, and again, this is circumstantial. It depends on what you're soloing over and things like that, but creating some sort of repetition in your playing will take notice to an ear, okay? So like here with this number 4, what I did was I took the idea of the first lick that we did in the very first thing, and I just expanded it by adding on some repetition and then expanded it through the pentatonic. So if I went, and then I did it again, all of a sudden it becomes something that your audience or your listener is going to go, okay, I'm just like this thing. Right? It's something that when somebody hears it, they're going to connect to it. Think of like the beginning of right? It's repetitive. You catch it and you go, oh, that's really neat. Well, when we're soloing, we're not really dealing with chords. We're dealing with creating something over the top of a chord. So what we're going to do is we're either going to, again, it's one of two things. We're either going to create something that is tipping its hat to the chords as it's coming by, or it's something that we're going to be forcing an idea over the top to make it work. So
now,
let me show
tipping
you
your
this.
hat. Are you talking about tipping your hat? What do you mean by that? By the chord chasing idea?
Yes. Tipping.
Okay.
Whenever I say tipping your hat, what you're doing is you're paying homage to the chord. You're being respectful to the chord by trying to target it on in some capacity. And again, it doesn't mean you got to play all the notes and the root and the third and the fifth and the seventh and blah blah blah. You're just trying to do something that makes sense with that chord. But if we want to create a theme out of it, it means to some capacity, again, we're going to have to repeat it. So if you think about what I did when I played over this last thing, and there was an A minor chord, right? I played A minor, F, C, and G, right? So I played an A minor note, and then what I did was I walked up the pentatonic, and I knew there was an F chord coming, so I went to the note F, the actual physical note F.
So you're targeting the root note.
Right now I am, but then when it went to the C note, I moved back here because that was right next door to where I was. That's actually the fifth of the chord, but again, if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But the reason I chose it was because I didn't want to go, I didn't want to jump down. I just went next door because it sounded melodic.
Okay.
So I went here, and then G was coming up, so I was like, oh crap, well I got to move down to get somewhere. So I went down to that note, which again, for anybody that knows theory, I went to the third, but it doesn't matter because it was just part of that chord. But what I can do is if I keep doing that over and over and over, it's going to become a theme. Now, if you're Joe Satriani or any of those kind of guys, what you do is you start off with a simplistic idea, right? And then as you keep going, you throw it up the octave, the low-high thing, or you embellish it. So what I could do, and again, just to show you an example, I'm going to start over.
I should mention while Steve's getting his thing together.
Yep.
That that whole stating the theme and then embellishing it has been around, guys, for about 400 years. You can go all the way back to like the Renaissance era and listen to Palestrina, or then you get to the Baroque stuff like Bach. That's been going on for 400 years, so it's not something new.
Right, and if you think vocally, again, it doesn't matter if you listen to rap music, if you listen to country music, if you listen to metal music, they're all doing it. You know,
yes.
They're all doing it, whether it's in the guitar chords or whether it's in the vocal line or whatever it might be. But again, as guitar players, we tend to just think, okay, let's go and let's just play, and then we're going to play, and then we're done. Okay?
Yep.
And sometimes we do. Sometimes that's what we want our solo to be truthful. If I was playing over a Slayer song, that's kind of what the solo is going to be. But if I was playing over Sweet Emotion or something like that, it might be completely different. Or Dream On, it might be completely different, you know? So, again, I'm going to build the basic foundation of the theme. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to embellish it just by adding some stuff in between. I'm not going to change my theme notes or my knotted hat notes, right? So I've got, here comes the C. interesting, I'm going to connect it. Here goes my next note, but I want to connect it. Now the connections in between are what makes you and I different. What you want in between and what I want in between might be different, right? You might look at that and go, I wouldn't play that fast. You don't have to. See, that's the beauty of it. You can decide then what you want in between there and how you want to formulate it to make it sound the way you want it to sound.
Beautiful.
But the melody is still there. The theme is still there, you see?
Does this relate to your single string soloing concept at all? Is that something totally different?
Well, soloing on a single string is something that we talk about in Guitar Solos Made Easy too, but the difference between that is what that does is it forces you to solo on a single string. So you can't rely on the comfort of moving up and down a shape. You're forced then to have to play one string, which visually helps you, but number two, it helps you in your ear too, because you don't have as many places to go and so many chances to get the right notes.
So what if you played that same exact rhythm track that you were just doing there, Steve, and you played, you chose, let's say, just one string. Could you play your theme on one string there?
Yes. Well, I can play it. The octave might be different until I set into it, but let me show you. So if I did this, so I'm going from A to C. So instead of going up the octave, I'm just going to do this.
Okay.
So we'll start on A. So here's my melody. Then I went back to the fifth of the chord. And then I got to go to G. So I've got to go to a C in there, so I'm going to go like this. Okay, now I got to get to a G. So now I'm doing the same thing but a different octave, and then, sorry, right there. So now I'm going to connect those together now. So I have, and then I would just kind of keep building it until it becomes something that I like or whatever, you know?
Sure. So stating the theme, guys, is that thing that when you lay down in your bed at night and you're like, man, I can't get this song out of my head, what you're actually singing to yourself is da dee da. Like you're singing what he initially played, and then as he embellishes it, that's where you get kind of this tapestry that he's weaving with these different notes and patterns and stuff. But I just wanted to mention that because I like putting you on the spot and seeing how incredibly talented you are.
No, that's awesome. And for those of you that have learned some of the stuff here at Guitar Zoom, you understand that it starts with your fretboard, right? It starts with the better you know your fretboard to some capacity, the more options you have, right?
Yep.
Then you start learning, you're moving around in that structure, and then you start, what's great about this chordal thing is now you've got places to go. And then you've got dynamics that you can use, and you've got phrasing, and you've got repetition, and all this stuff is just building into, after a while, it just kind of comes out of you. So that's the beauty of this thing is, again, that's the core, is you're no longer thinking about everything. If you think about it, your core is when you grab your guitar and play, and you can make any jokes about yourself that you want, but the truth is, when you grab the guitar and play, there's a core that comes out every time you play. All you have to do is start giving direction to this. That's all you got to do is you start giving direction to this, and all of a sudden it starts sounding better. It starts sounding more authentic and more real. Then you can start deciding, okay, now I want to study this, or now I want to study this, and embellish that even further. But at least that core that you've got is now just, it isn't just movement, it's authentic. You're playing music. That's what music is. So
absolutely. And Steve goes into this concept, guys, we just covered in Module 4 of Guitar Solos Made Easy. This is a 7-module class that Steve's put together for you. And Steve, what exactly, like, give us the overall concept of Guitar Solos Made Easy, kind of what your mindset was, because I know when you create these courses, you sit down and you make these elaborate mind maps of all the different concepts that you want to cover, and you spend a lot of time developing the actual curriculum for the course. It's not just willy-nilly, which I think is one of the reasons that, you know, your stuff is so incredibly effective for guitar players. So kind of give us this overall concept of the course.
You got it. The big thing with Guitar Solos Made Easy was that, you know, watching Guitar Zoom community, the Facebook community page, and all the emails that we get and those sorts of things, you know, and again, I've been teaching on my own before I was even part of Guitar Zoom for 26 years of my life. And there are just certain roadblocks that it seems like, including myself, everybody runs into. And so the goal with the course was to address all of these problems that people generally have. And again, trying not to make a course that doesn't define anything. I've always been I've been against courses that just go, here's a song and here's the solo and learn the solo, this is how the solo is played, and now we'll move on. I'd rather explain to you what the heck's going on so you can actually decide what it is you want to do with the information. And the other big thing is this core element that I'm talking about is trying to give you different perspectives. These modules that Dan's talking about are all different perspectives on how to approach soloing. So you know, I would certainly suggest starting at the first section and working your way through, you know, chronologically. But there's lots of different approaches that say, hey, how about this approach? Or how about trying this? Or maybe try this and see what you get. And again, always remembering that the beauty of this is if you can expand upon this element just a little bit, you can stop watching the video and start working with yourself. And then once you feel good about whatever it is you got going, you come back to it again and you expand it again with some new idea, some new direction. And that was really the goal. The two main things were to address all of these general, I should say 3 things, but general issues that people have. Number 2, making it functional and tangible for anybody. So it doesn't matter whether you're a relatively beginner player or you've been playing a long time. I know all kinds of players that have been playing their whole life and they still don't know how to create a melody. They just know how to play fast, or they just know, and you know, there's different times when it approaches different things. A quick little story to that, like I used to get jazz teachers around my hometown all the time that would send their students to me because every time they'd get these 9th grade kids or 10th grade kids in their class, they'd play minor pentatonic over everything. So every solo sounded like a blues rock solo, and they're like, "This is jazz.
There's no melodic scale.
We're not looking for that." So, and again, it wasn't a huge twist, but is getting them to understand. Look, if there's a chord being played, you've got to be able to tip your hat. You've got to be able to acknowledge these chords to some degree and understand that. Again, the real world aspect, which is in Guitar Solos Made Easy anyway, but understanding that jazz isn't approached from the blues perspective. Jazz has its own set of guidelines that you need to follow to a certain degree to make it sound like jazz. If you don't do that, it doesn't sound like jazz. So just kind of always thinking about that. That was the premise of this. Number 1, giving you something that's tangible. Number 2, making sure that it was dealing with all of your roadblocks. And then the third thing, always giving you the ability of being able to use it in the real world, not just teaching you a bunch of things that you can actually use, but giving you jam tracks. You know, I created all the jam tracks and that sort of thing, so you can try everything out. Like the first 2 modules, I don't remember if Dan, you said the chord chasing is in module 2. I don't remember if it's in 2 or 3. It might be in 2, but I do know that the first module deals with just a static A tone, just this. And you learning to hear and feel your way around the fretboard, not having a chord progression, not having a tempo, not having a groove, right? Just learning how to deal with the fretboard and different scales, which we talk about in there too. I show you all kinds of different scales and stuff.
I want you to, look, Steve, I want to push pause just for a second because
sure.
I want to give people, 10% of the people who are on this call, we actually have over 2,000 people registered, which is just astonishing to me that anybody would actually want to show up and hang out with two chuckleheads. It's like, great, man, that's awesome. So hopefully we've delivered some value to you guys, but I wouldn't, I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't tell you about this course and what it's actually about, so you truly understand if it's something that you want to invest in or not. I have a very short video that is not a sales pitch. It is simply, here's module 1, here's what you learn. Here's module 2, here's what you learn. And then you can either decide if it's right for you or not, okay? But I want to come back, Steve, and maybe we can talk a little bit about the different modules, and you can show us that tone, that A tone, where you're soloing over just that one pitch.
Yep.
That would be really cool. I'd like to see that.
Sure.
And if you guys would too, we'll do that right after this. Okay, so hang with us. Turn off any distractions. Carefully listen to this, and then we're going to come back, and Steve's going to show us some more cool stuff. Okay? Thanks, guys. Okay, Steve Stine. So, look, guys, you can see, hopefully, please let me know if you can see. Put in the chat box here and just say, like, yes or something. If you can see the actual Guitar Solos Made Easy course there should be a little button that says Learn More, that if you click on it, let me see what happens. Yes, if you click on it, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it takes you to the web page where you can get more information about Guitar Solos Made Easy. And if, and you can see all 7 modules of everything that Steve is going to teach you in this course. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll see the webinar special bonus. Okay, and that is to how to create the ultimate guitar tone, which actually is related very much to tonight's webinar topic, the very first one that we covered about effective phrasing and the diversity of dynamics for sure. Tone and dynamics go hand in hand. Yes, Steve?
Yes, absolutely. And again, you know, the misconception of tone is that we're always thinking of the $3,000 Marshall amp that we have to get, and not that that couldn't help you, but it's more about using what you do have. And you know, if you've probably seen videos before, like you'll see Joe Satriani and he's playing at some music store through some little amp and he still sounds like Joe Satriani. Huh. There's a lot to do with the way you play. You know, I'm not saying that good gear doesn't help, because it certainly does, but there's a lot of things that you can do with the amp that you've already got and the guitar that you've got and the strings that you've got, you know, the picks that you use, the way you pick, all kinds of different things to get decent tones. So
absolutely. So one of the things that I promised, by the way, Steve, I just see your image there. I don't actually see you. Is there a reason for that?
You should. Does anybody else? Do you see me, Matt?
Am I the only one?
I'm not sure.
I see Steve Stine with his guitar, with head laid back, wailing on a solo.
Huh.
I don't actually see you.
Oh, Matt could see me. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
I see you. Yes, I see you. I see. Okay, cool. Well, congratulations, everyone. You get to see Steve. I don't need to see him anyway. I see enough of him.
You see too much of me.
Everybody says, I see him, I see him, I see him.
That's funny.
Okay, guys. So one thing that I wanted to cover, Steve, is in Module 1 of Guitar Solos Made Easy, you talk about this kind of singular tone, which I think was an A or something that we were starting before. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of how you start out Guitar Solos Made Easy, the course?
Yeah, I've got the chart over here. Needless to say, this course covers a whole lot of stuff, and you probably don't want me to sit here and talk about it for another hour. But, you know, we talk about, the biggest thing is talking about 2 things. Talking about learning how to meander across your fretboard and using elements of technique and various ideas. So hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, vibrato, all those different kinds of things. A lot of the stuff that we talked about tonight, learning how to phrase, but going into far more detail of those sorts of things. But the biggest thing is learning how to solo over a static tone to break your conception or idea of what you're supposed to be doing over a solo. Like, you'll get it in your head that minor pentatonic is what you're supposed to be doing. So no other scale will ever occur to you because you've got it in your head that you're supposed to be using minor pentatonic. Or you'll be using major pentatonic and nothing else will occur to you. What's really nice to do is to take just a static tone, which you'll be using that same static tone in both Module 1 and Module 2. We'll expand it in Module 2. But you're going to start learning how to try different things, and I'll kind of show you what I mean, if I can jam just for a minute here. So this is a pitch. It's not an A major chord. It's not an A minor chord. It's just a pitch of A, and I'll show you what it sounds like. So now you take A minor pentatonic, for instance. But let's say we did something different. Let's say we did A major pentatonic, which you will learn in Module 2. Or let's say we had some different scales, like we were going to use, if anybody knows what Lydian is. I could take Lydian. More of like that Steve Vai sound, right? Or harmonic minor, like the cool thing about learning to jam over something like that is now you really are in your element of creativity. And you're letting your mind be open.
Dude.
Yeah, you're letting your mind be open to sounds and the sounds that your guitar makes, not just scales and things like that, but the sounds that could be created by the guitar. You can even play things that aren't even from a scale. You're just exploring sounds on your fretboard. Because again, a lot of people are so busy trying to learn things that they're not making a direct connection to the guitar itself. They're just learning things, just concepts. It's like we're in school, right? And we're just learning concepts. They're not really making a connection, which is a whole other topic. But when you play a scale and you do something like this, I play a scale and I do this, and then I do this. That note either sounds great or sounds horrible depending on how you're approaching it. This one. There's something truly freeing and creative and just awesome about it.
That is amazing.
It's so fun. And so that's what we do in the first thing is just learning to explore the fretboard, kind of within, versus always worrying about scales and always worrying about whatever. We're going to try all these various techniques and things, but without the restraints of tempo and chord progressions and key. It's just a tone that you just explore.
So beautiful, which I think is part of the concept of guitar solos made easy. I think when we're all that 9-year-old kid that you described earlier, Steve. You know, in some ways we're like, we want to play a solo, we're going to play super fast and we're going to impress people. That's the whole point. But when you just do what you just did, it sounds amazing, but there's nothing happening rhythmically, there's nothing happening harmonically. It's just one static tone, and you're using all those different scales just to explore, and really you're not even thinking about theory or chord chasing or anything. You're just trying to get some cool sounds out of your guitar. I think that's
it's awesome.
Pure and beautiful.
Yep.
And that's all Module 1, guys. So Module 1, Steve's going to go really in depth into that, and he's going to show you, of course, those different scales and those different patterns and just how to approach it, kind of the mindset of stripping away the unnecessary stuff so you can focus on the important stuff. And that's going to be in Module 1 of Guitar Solos Made Easy. So let's talk about Module 2, Steve. Okay. Looks like to me from the web page here, the Module 2, you're going to talk about chord chasing, targeting the root note, the tension and release concept. What is the tension and release concept? We kind of covered the chord chasing a little bit. Is that something you can demonstrate to us?
Well, tension and release is like when you let me go back to that static tone.
Hey, you might want to turn your static tone down just a little bit.
Okay.
Gotcha. Volume wise.
You got it. A little better?
Yeah.
Okay. So what tension is exactly what I did here. When you do this, and then you go back to a note that better qualifies for that particular chord, right? Remember how we talked about the chord chasing idea? It might be something visual and it might be something aural, right? You might hear it. But a tension release is when you do something that creates tension. It's dissonance. It's something that causes the hair to stand up a little bit. And then releases is when you bring it back. And you can use that in your playing to create, well, tension. I don't know what else to call it, but you create tension within the context of your solo. Instead of always playing everything that fits, sometimes you step outside the line of that. Like I like to show, which I do in this course too, but I like to show how I do exotic bends like Marty Friedman. That was one of the coolest things I ever learned from Marty Friedman, is the simplicity of taking a note that is not part of a scale, which I talk about all this in the course, and bending it to something that is within the scale. The tension is at the beginning of it, like when I do this, I'll play it for you. So the tension is that it starts off sounding like it's out of tune, but then you bend it until it is in tune, and then it releases that tension. So there's lots of really neat ways that you can use that. You know, another thing is for instance, slides. You know, we always think that we have to slide from a note in the scale to a note in the scale, which makes perfect sense. But we can slide from notes that are not part of a scale to create that tension. So if I went, like right there, what I'm going to do is slide from 7 to 8, and then from 6 to 5. Well, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8 can't be part of a scale. It's all chromatic. But if I do and use those in my soloing, so I can slide literally from anywhere. Again, getting in the zone. So let me kind of show you this again.
Go ahead.
Now, I can do as much or as little of that as I want, but then wrap around my logical stuff around it so it brings it back home. If I do it all too much, it's going to start sounding like, well,
right.
It doesn't sound like you know where you're at. But if you do it a little bit, never think of doing that if I was playing. You'd never go. You wouldn't do that over the top of that. So the fun of it is that you can kind of get outside yourself a little bit and just start having some fun with the fretboard as an instrument, not just as a bunch of different exercises. You see?
Now, so I actually can't see you, which is really weird. So I'm just listening to this. It sounds to me like a lot of harmonic minor that you were just doing.
Well, it's kind of technically just a lot of half steps. That's really what it is. Like here. Right, so I'm just playing a bunch of half steps around the A, right?
Around the A note. So it's kind of a chromatic thing.
Sure.
Yeah, that's super cool. So what would it sound like, Steve? I think this is interesting. Could you swap maybe back and forth from kind of that chromatic thing to your harmonic minor and then maybe throw in some Lydian or some major?
Sure.
Because I noticed on here you've got in module 4, see, I just saw it. I was reading on the web page here. Let's see, where did I just see that? Oh, lost it. I think it's in module 4 where you're going to be talking about this major concept as well. So I think it'd be cool for people to hear like the Lydian, major maybe, some Lydian, and like that chromatic thing you were just doing to compare and contrast those different sounds over that A note.
Sure. Okay, so I'll start off with just some plain old pentatonic, and then I'll go into some chromatic stuff, and then I'll go into Lydian. Now, Lydian's going to be the biggest transition because we're going from this darkness to the happiness.
And remember, guys, Lydian is just a fancy way of saying a major scale with a raised fourth, if that means anything.
That's exactly it. That's all I'm doing, yep.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Amazing, really dude. So, you know what I was just thinking as you were playing, everybody, you know, is sitting here probably thinking, my goodness, yeah, that's amazing. Steve Stine can play like that. But what about me? You know, how can I actually implement and how can I benefit from this stuff? Because maybe someone's sitting there going, I'm not going to ever play like that. Like, that's just, it's not going to happen. What would you say to that person? And specifically as it relates to this course that you put together for everybody?
Okay, well, there's two answers to that. Number one is, if you never want to play like that, I can respect that, and I think that's awesome, right? So what you need to do is figure out what elements fit into what you view as your playing bubble, right? Where you want to live as a guitar player. This course doesn't focus on specifically blues or rock or jazz or blah. It just gives you a bunch of different opportunities of things to think about and ways to approach the fretboard. Okay.
Okay.
That would be the first one. The second answer is, if there are elements in there that you would like to be able to do, but you say, I can't do that because I'm not good enough. Okay. That comes back to that core element again, where the trick to all of this is learning how to create that ladder, creating those baby steps from where you are to where you want to be. That's the most important thing. So, for instance, you can do, like, let's say, I mean, there's a million different things I could talk about, but let's just say you wanted to play a quirkier Satriani line. Something like that, right? You wanted to be able to throw something like that in somewhere, because you're always feeling like everything that you're playing is like quarter notes and eighth notes. Because maybe your technique isn't that good, right? So a really easy way of being able to kind of bypass that is to start working on a daily regimen of practice of hammer-ons and pull-offs and things like that, which there's a bonus that talks about all that kind of stuff to try and get your chops in gear. I mean, the thing is...
By the way, let me just push pause on that just a second, Steve. I've totally blanked on this. Guys, there are actually 4 bonuses that have never been seen before that you're going to get with this course. And they're not just like, oh, bonus. Yeah, this is like something that, I don't really care about. These are 4 full-blown courses that they're already on the Guitar Zoom calendar to be released as standalone courses. So these 4 courses that you're going to get for free as a bonus when you invest in Guitar Solos Made Easy are the Secret Tricks for Singing Guitar Solos, the Mastering the Pentatonic Path, Music Theory in 60 Minutes or Less, and then the one that Steve was just mentioning is the Ultimate Daily Practice Guide. And you're going to get that as part of this course. So that's a variety of techniques and exercises that make your practicing fun. Okay, and so maybe you could speak a little bit about the Ultimate Daily Practice Guide, Steve.
Right. Well, and really for any of those bonuses, the goal with those is instead of taking the course and adding that all in and then having, you might say, well, I'm not really into my chops, like that's not really my thing. It was easier for me to not have it as the core element of the course, to have the core element of the course be fundamental things that you can use in your playing, and then create these other courses that are, if you need this, here it is. So, for instance, if you have a hard time visualizing your fretboard, that pentatonic one is all about learning how to visualize your entire fretboard as one big piece. And if you can already do that fairly well, then that bonus may or may not be as useful to you. But if you have a problem with that, that's not going to derail the course at all. You're going to be able to go through the entire course and do all the stuff. But if you go, man, I really wish I could be able to do that in other places on my fretboard, well, that bonus is going to help you. It's going to add to that element and make it even better for you. So
beautiful. Just the Mastering the Pentatonic Path is all 5 positions of the pentatonic scale, how to visualize them and connect them together and then practice them. And so that's what that's all about. That's bonus number 2.
And understanding the major and minor pentatonic, the secret to kind of learning how to see those. Like everybody learns just moving down 3 frets, but there's a way better method of being able to see your entire fretboard in major than just trying to kind of view it as moving down 3 frets. And I talk about all that stuff on there. So
great point. And bonus number 3, Steve, is Music Theory in 60 Minutes or less.
Okay, so now we were just talking about like root 3rd and 5th and some things like that earlier, and I said if you don't understand those, don't worry about it, and you don't have to worry about it. But if you are interested, what I did was I tried to compile the most important elements of theory that we would discuss on a regular basis in that bonus, that Music Theory in 60 Minutes. So it's not going off the deep end of all these other things for those of you that have taken like Music Theory for Life. That's not what it's for. It's for those core elements that you use on a regular basis in daily conversation with other musicians. That's what's in there.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And then, of course, the very first one is the secrets to singing guitar solos. So what is that about, Steve?
Well, that just takes the ideas of phrasing and those things to a much further level. For those people that are really interested in trying to figure out how to make their guitar really sing like you'll learn in the first couple of modules, it takes that and it expands on it quite deeply. So
this is so cool. So the cool thing for me, man, is that you've laid out this 7-module course, guys, which is about 6 hours of online training, and it's all inside the members area for you. So you don't have to wait for DVDs or anything to come. It's all streaming HD video, and you can watch them on your phone, you can watch them on your tablet, it's all mobile friendly, so you can log into any computer with your username and password to the members site, and it's there for you, ready and waiting. So like if your computer crashes, don't worry, because it's not on your hard drive, it's on our servers. It'll always be there for you. So if you get a new computer, you don't have to be like, oh, how do I transfer this thing? Or, oh, my DVDs got scratched. No, don't worry about all that. It's all there for you. But you've taken this 6 hours worth of information, maybe even more, 7 modules, and then you didn't like hold back anything. Like if you just had this course, guys, it'd be a total game changer for you. But then he's actually taken the time to create some specific bonuses, which are truly additional concepts. So if you want to go even further, right, then you've got these additional courses. Am I right about that, Steve?
that is exactly what it is. Yep.
Yeah, and we even created these specifically so that we could, basically offer them to our customers as standalone courses as well. So they really are full-blown courses. You're going to get all of them for free when you invest in the Guitar Solos Made Easy. And of course, we have the webinar bonus, which is the creating the ultimate guitar tone with the gear and guitar you already own, which I'm really stoked about. So those are all the bonuses. Of course, the course itself is 7 modules long. I do have one question, Steve. Do they get all 7 modules at once, or is it like 1 module per week, or how did you lay that out?
No, they get them all at the same time. So they just start.
Really?
Yeah, they just start jamming through it.
Okay, so guys, what that means is as soon as your order goes through, you can log in and start with module 1, and they get access to all the bonuses as well at the same time.
They get access to everything at the same time. Yep.
Yeah.
I think I don't. Matt can answer this better than I can, but I think the webinar bonus will be available tomorrow morning when they wake up. I think they were finishing that one up because the guys were. I have to buy them like I have to buy them lunch. You? Yeah, I gotta buy them lunch or something because I threw a lot of material at them for this course. So
yeah.
So I think they're still finishing that one up. It was supposed to be done today. So I think that bonus course, that webinar bonus, will be in there tomorrow. So
super guys.
I just heard from Matt, webinar is done. The webinar bonus is done, and it's
great.
There, so yep.
Wow. Okay, so guys, you get everything. You get the Guitar Solos Made Easy course, all 7 modules. You get the Creating the Ultimate Guitar Tone course. That's only for webinar attendees. And don't worry if you've already invested in this course, because I know over 10% or 11% or 12% of the people on this webinar right now have already invested in the Guitar Solos Made Easy course. So thank you for that. But you will get that bonus, of course. And you get the secret tricks for singing guitar solos bonus. You get the mastering the pentatonic path bonus. You get music theory in 60 minutes or less bonus. You get the ultimate daily practice guide bonus. You also get, guys, the complete tab transcription for each course. So all 7 modules have been tabbed out for you, and you get the tab for all the bonus courses, okay? And those are downloadable PDFs which you can download and keep even if you decide that Guitar Solos Made Easy is not for you. And of course, you are covered by a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, 100% satisfaction. Let me assure you, Steve and I both have this philosophy. If you get this course and for any reason you don't love it, all you got to do is let us know. In fact, you don't have to contact me or Steve. Just send an email to Rena or Chris or Jai or whoever over in the customer service department, and they will cheerfully issue you a fast, friendly refund, and there won't be any questions asked, no hassles, no receipt required. All we need is your email or even your name just to look you up in our system. And if you so you're 100% risk-free. If you're kind of on the fence or thinking, I don't know about this, you got 60 days to try out the entire thing. Take the entire course if you want. If you decide it's not for you, just let us know. There will be no hard feelings, okay? So you did get all the tab books. You also get a quick start guide and a progress tracker, which I think is cool because you can kind of trace where you are in the course. You don't have to worry about, oh, did I go through this yet or not? And then you get access to the private Facebook group for GuitarZoom. And I'm just curious, guys, I'd like to know if you are a part of the GuitarZoom community in our private Facebook group, meaning that you've actually ordered courses from us before. Can you hit us up on chat here and just let us know, like, what's the one thing that you love about that private community the most? Like, what's the biggest benefit to you there for the Facebook private group? And I know, Steve, you're heavily involved in that. Tell us a little bit about what that bonus is about.
The Facebook bonus, the community page? Well, the big thing is that we have a lot of GuitarZoom customers in there that, and it doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or intermediate or you've been playing a long time, people post videos, they post songs, they post encouragement, they post questions. And the big thing that I always like to pride myself on with that community page is that it's a very positive place. Like, we don't have trolls in there, we don't have negativity in there. If we've got somebody that's got a stick up their butt about every post that they make, we don't tolerate it. We get them out of there. So it really is a special, and the reason why I really wanted it to be that way was I used to go to Guitar World's Facebook page. I love Guitar World. That's one of my favorite magazines. But there's just all so much negativity. It's like with guitar players, everybody has this need to bash everybody else to try and make themselves feel better. And we don't do that. That's just the opposite. We encourage each other and keep it positive. And if you do run into any problems, all you got to do is let me or George or somebody know, and we will take care of it.
Actually, what's funny is most of the time it's the GuitarZoom students who actually jump on there and be like, hey, dude, you need to shut your mouth or you're going to be out of here. No, and that's the thing is I firmly believe in constructive criticism if it's something valid and it's not coming from a negative place. I'm all about it for myself, that's how we get better, but it's got to be constructive and it's got to be coming from a positive place. And if it's not, we don't tolerate it. So it is a very lively, very active community of very serious guitar players who are just there to help each other. That's the coolest part to me. It's just like they're there hanging out and they're spending their time answering each other's questions. And of course, Steve is there, and we have George is there helping out with all of that. So it's a very positive thing. You get access to that, and it's only for people who've actually invested in one or more of our courses. So that they're serious, right? And I'd like to speak a little bit about that, and we're going to wrap it up here, Steve, because we've been on here for almost 2 hours, buddy. Yeah. And I want to thank you for being here with me, and I want to thank every single person for being here with us. You get everything. You get all 7 modules of the course. It's 6 hours. You get instant access to everything. And, of course, you get all of the bonuses. And the special webinar bonus is how to create the ultimate guitar tone, which will be released later as a course. You get that for free. You get the Secrets for Singing Guitar Solos course, Mastering the Pentatonic Path, Music Theory in 60 Minutes or Less, the Ultimate Daily Practice Routine, and then, of course, you get all the downloadable PDF tab books. You get the Quick Start Guide, the Progress Tracker, and the access to the private Facebook group. And it's a total $650 value, and it's only, right now, it's actually a special deal. So it's 3 payments of $47. You can spread it out over 3 months if you want, or $129 is a little bit of a discount if you pay all at once. Some people don't like the multiple payment option. And hey, you know what? That's about less than one trip to the grocery store these days, right? So for basically a trip to the grocery store, you have an entire course that you can just dive into, and you're only looking for that one golden nugget. That one game-changing thing, and it might come to you in Module 1 or 2, or maybe it's one of the bonuses, but it'll justify the entire investment. in the course for you. And yes, I did see some questions here, guys, about PayPal. We do take PayPal, of course, American Express, Discover, and all those other credit cards and debit cards. So the PayPal option is there. At least it should be. Let me just click on this and make sure. Yeah, this says check out with PayPal at the bottom. If you'd like to use PayPal, that's perfectly fine as well. Okay, guys, we are bumping right up on our time limit here. I want to thank every single person for coming and spending your time with us. There is a special webinar attendee only bonus. If you click on the tab there that says learn more, and if you go over to the page, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see the words thank you with an exclamation point. Click here to download your free webinar attendee bonus, and let's see what that bonus is. Actually, I'm not even sure what it is.
It's some patterns. It's for, I forget what I called it, but it's for
5
patterns.
killer guitar patterns.
There you go, five killer guitar patterns. There you go.
Yep, it's a PDF. You get that, and of course you get the PDF that we went over tonight in the webinar. And so if you're digging on what you've seen here, guys, just click on the Learn More button, scroll all the way down, and you got your webinar attendee bonus. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all of you who've already invested in Guitar Solos Made Easy. Again, if you're on the fence about this at all, just remember you're covered by a 60-day 100% satisfaction guarantee, which means you can take the entire course, go through all the modules, go through all the bonuses, and then even at the end of it, after the end of 60 days, if you're still not like, dude, this was amazing, just let us know for a fast, friendly refund. And I'd like to thank everybody who's already invested in the course tonight with us, including, I just want to call it a couple names. I'm not going to be able to go through all of these, but Matthew Driscoll, Richard Chatwell, Marty Smith, Robert Mansmanian, Larry Johnson, Primoz Benko, Gary Popelka, Sarah Christensen, Thomas Scott, Tracy Pomar, Joseph Coate, Gary Hall, Don Laborie, William Cantrell, Jose Sanchez, Dana Walker, Terry Hall, Leonard Firkins, Thomas Long, Gillis Pleward. Sorry, guys, I'm terrible with names. And we have a lot of international folks outside the U.S., so I'm sorry about that if I'm messing up your name. Paul Moran, David Klaus, Dr. Kevin Miller. Nice to have an MD on board. Thank you. Just in case Steve cuts his finger over there, we'll call Dr. Kevin Miller. Julio Monge. I know I messed that up, but it was fun to say. Craig Garber, Robin Durant. It's nice to have some ladies actually joining the Guitar Zoom community. Thank you. We need some more ladies. There must be a male-only club over here. It'd be cool to have some more women. Kurt Von Wooster, John Johnson, Scott Stewart, Robert Parker, Mark Boyle, Ronald Adonolfo, Paul Dobrovolskij. It ends in a J and it has like 4 consonants jammed together. So, Paul, thank you. And Peter Den, Samuel Hoover. Guys, I'm not going to be able to go down the entire list, but I want to thank every single person who's already invested in Guitar Solos Made Easy. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining the Guitar Zoom community. And thank you to every single person that joined us tonight. It is a blessing and a privilege to spend time with you. You've given us the great gift of your time, which is the greatest gift you can share with us. So thanks again. And Steve, thank you, sir, for another rockin' webinar. Hey, guys, if you enjoyed what you saw tonight, could you just please hit us one more time in the chat and just say, yes, this was awesome, or something to let us know if you dug it or not. And if you didn't, let us know that too. Stephen Welch, thank you. He says this was fun. There was a real pleasure listening and watching. Devin, yeah, Frank, Dean, thank you guys. Jacob, Robert, Carl, Kent, Mark. Oh wow, there's coming in Paul, Garrett, Pete, Martin, Matt.
Thanks, Roland.
Kevin.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. It really is awesome. And I'm not trying to be funny when I say Steve and I are truly amazed that any of you would actually come and spend your time with us.
Yeah. I am absolutely, and I tell Dan all the time, we are absolutely blessed that we get to do what we do and,
Yeah, absolutely.
and hang out with you guys and make, help people learn how to play. It's just awesome.
Thanks again, guys. Remember, I think Steve and I can leave, and the little box will stay up. You guys can stay. If you just click on the Learn More button, guys, you'll get all the information about the course, and you'll be able to, if you order tonight, by the time the timer hits 0, you'll get that webinar attendee-only bonus, all 4 of the bonus courses, the PDF, tab books, the Facebook group, as well as the special price, which will be going up. I should mention that. I don't think I did until now. So anyway, thanks again, guys. Steve Stine, as a pleasure, sir. Always.
Thank you, Mr. Denley.
All right, buddy. I will talk to you soon. Thanks again,
right.
guys. Bye.
Have a wonderful evening or day, depending on what time it is. Take care, everybody.
Yes. Thanks for being with us. Bye.
Bye.